Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And a good morning to you. A sunny, lovely, thinking of spring kind of a day. March 16, 2022. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, Voldemort. Actually, it's weird because he and Putin essentially have the same name, don't they? Vladimir. Or Zelenskyy is a derivation thereof. I just wanted to say that I'm assuming many of you did see his speech to a joint session of Congress, wherein, unsurprisingly, he got a standing ovation. Again, asked for more help, the no-fly zone, which I think the president has been very clear, our president, that he cannot have, because, according to Biden, that will start World War III. You know, just be grateful that you are not in a position to have to make these decisions, as opposed to being the sideline quarterbacks that we are. I can't imagine how heavy a burden that is. I want to, let's see. There's, as usual, so much to talk about. Let me start with a poem. Okay. This is a poem by a Ukrainian American poet. It was written in 2019, so it is not about current events, but it sure as hell could be. It's by Ilya Kaminsky, and it's titled "We Lived Happily During the War." And when they bombed other people's houses, we protested, but not enough. We opposed them, but not enough. I was in my bed, around my bed, America was falling. Invisible house by invisible house by invisible house. I took a chair outside and watched the sun. In the 6th month of a disastrous reign in the house of money, in the street of money, in the city of money, in the country of money, our great country of money, we, forgive us, lived happily during the war. Perhaps you saw, oh God, what am I doing? I'm so sorry, that was me making that noise, if you heard that noise. God, wake up, Cullen, wake up! A friend gave me a pill last night to help me sleep, which has become an impossibility for me. I've never had a bout of insomnia like the one I am suffering now, and I've been living on 3 hours sleep a night. That's my latest excuse for if I can't remember things, or if I seem a little down despite my high ATUS. I can't sleep. It's astonishing. Something that should come so normally. And it comes not for me. I just wanted to point this out, that while we and other European nations are sanctioning Russia this way and that, Russia, in turn, has sanctioned us. It's sanctioned Canada. It's sanctioned all the countries that have dared to sanction it. It's called tit for tat. But it's interesting if you look at some of the details of the Russian sanctions, because Russia, well, for instance, when it sanctioned Canada, it sanctioned leaders, it barred leaders from all the major Canadian parties from ever coming to Russia. And then when Russia put sanctions on us, like it did Canada, it got more specific. It only barred Democrats. Seriously. They named names. And it did not name a single Republican leader. Now, I will ask you to make of that what you will. Amazing. Amazing. No, they want those visits from Republican senators on July 4th. They want these visits to continue and the back and forth to continue. The money flowing from Russia to Republican pockets. Everybody's fine and dandy with that. So remember this. I mean, it makes things so clear. Sanctioning Canadian leaders, they sanctioned everyone, conservatives, liberals, everybody in between and on the ends. United States, no such blanket approach, because they culled from the sanctioned their friends, the Republican Party. Just so you know, I don't know if that's getting any press. Also, wow, they zeroed in on Hillary Clinton because she was one of, well, I don't know if they zeroed in on her. She was one of the named Democrats that have been barred from ever entering Russia. And Hillary Clinton, no matter what you think about her, had a wonderful response to the Russians. She said, "I want to thank the Russian Academy for this Lifetime Achievement Award." Love it. Okay. And something I don't think I've said yet. I want to say that social media, in the case of this war, has proven to be, in general, I think, a source for good. It is, of course, because it is the nature of the beast, a source for information and misinformation and disinformation, but it is because every Ukrainian can essentially report to us in real time from the war zone, which is, of course, their cities, their hospitals, their schools, their homes. The impact of that, the personalization of that is, whoa, is it powerful. And the fact that the whole world on the receiving end of these messages and tweets and all the other Instagrams, all the other ways of communication. I have little doubt that that is why there is such commonality of response, of repugnance to what the Russians have done and are doing. So in this case, you do see how this damn technology can be a force for good, even as it is clearly a force for evil as well, because everyone, good and bad, have access to it. I also want to say that Susan and I were very certain yesterday about the fate of the woman who dared to interrupt a Russian news broadcast protesting the war, that she was likely dead. Well, she ain't yet. I saw her on television. She was smiling, and she was detained for 14 hours and then immediately allowed to go to court with an attorney, and she was slapped on the wrist, given a fine. But that was for the video she put out. It wasn't for the act of interrupting the station's news, which is a criminal charge still outstanding. So we'll see. I would think, knowing the Russian officials, knowing that the whole world was watching and assuming what Susan and I were assuming, that they played this one right by proving us wrong. Oh, Lord. Okay. Time for something funny. Dark humor, I would say. Let me find it here. Hello. It is a tweet, having just spoken of social media. And this was a tweet by some guy named Pragun Dua. I know not where he is or was when he tweeted this, but he was in a measure of distress. He found himself stuck in the elevator of the building in which he works. And so, being stuck in the elevator, he realized he had a lifeline to the outside, his phone and social media. And so he posted this. Guys, and he did it in all caps, feeling some stress. Guys, I'm stuck in the lift. Now that would suggest that he's in the UK, since we call them elevators. And the immediate response that came back, and it came back immediately because he posted his cry for help at 3:08. And at 3:08 came an immediate response from a robot, which said this. Hi, guys is a gendered pronoun. We recommend alternatives like folks, all, everyone, y'all, team, crew, etc. We appreciate your help in building an inclusive workplace at Head Out. I guess that's where he works, a place called Head Out. So he's stuck in the elevator. He cries for help, and instead he gets a woke, immediate message from obviously some algorithm at his workplace that flagged his cry for help because he said, guys. And that was determined to be an offensive term because they think excluded females and others. Can you imagine? Oh my God. Can you imagine? Help, help. I am sorry, you have used the wrong pronouns. We appreciate your help in building an inclusive workplace. Okay, so literally 1 minute later, we give him a little time to scream in disbelief. He, again, all caps, says, tweets out or messages out, "Folks, I'm stuck in the WeWork lift." I'm sorry. Man, God help us. Tickled me. I, by the way, don't get that. Guys, I have used all my life with no thought of gender. Guys to me are, I called when I was with my girlfriends, childhood, we called each other guys all the time. Hey guys, come here. We always used guys. It was not intended as male or female, just so the woke crowd knows, okay? Oh, man. Bob and Braddock writes, you were talking about Dr. Gary North in an obituary yesterday. Yeah, he's the jerk who pretty much started up the brilliant move, for a while at least, of getting infiltrating the Republican Party. If you were a real right-wing evangelical type, and essentially taking it over. And Bob writes, it just so happens that one of his pals, who is still living, suddenly came back from his retirement grave. Oh, God. Pat Robertson. Are you sure it's really Pat Robertson, or he's risen from the dead? Pat Robertson was back on his 700 Club show and said that Putin's attack on Ukraine was part of a biblical prophecy. Oh, dear. So, like Tom Brady, just can't let go. I mean, I understand that. I'm an old fart who's still working. And if you love your work, as Tom Brady and I suspect Pat Robertson did, and you like the celebrity that came with it in their cases, and whatever. And I think for Brady, just the sort of veneration and competition, who knows? You can't leave. You just can't say no. Okay, I hate to be the first one to tell you, and I probably am not. Excuse me, some succor. There's a word that you don't hear spoken too often because it sounds vaguely obscene, and I think I said succor because I didn't want you to hear sucker, which I think is in any context is sort of an awful word, except for its synonym when it's a synonym for lollipop. Have you seen the picture of the spider that is now in the United States and will forever be because it spreads really quickly? Came in from somewhere in Asia. Most of the time when we get these new bugs, they've come from Asia. Like, remember the stink bug? Remember hearing about the stink bug? Remember seeing your first stink bug? Oh, yeah. Well, guess what? A spider, though, I'm sorry. I do get freaked around spiders. It's not fair to them because it is just the way they look freaks me out. I'm generally not good around insect life. I'm one of those people who immediately freak, and it's wrong of me. I will rarely kill any spider. because I know how important they are. And I know they eat a lot of the bugs that really bug me, right? Spider is the size of your palm. Look at your palm. Now, when I say it's the size of your palm, that is counting its legs, stretched out. So, I mean, the body of it would be right there in the center of your palm, and it is sizable. But then to get your whole palm in, you have to add its large, that would be 8, right, legs. And here's the other thing about it. It's called the Joro. It's beautiful. I don't normally see spiders as beautiful, but and it's a Steeler fan, clearly, because it's black and yellow. It's black and gold. And it has like bands on it, yellow and black stripes. It's really pretty if you can get by your spider phobia. The Joro spider. And on top of it, it's gentle. It doesn't like it's shy. It can't help that it's so big, and it would just as soon stay out of your way. But it's very good at propagating. It's a hitchhiker. It builds its webs on moving vehicles and thus on trains, and off it goes. So we can expect it's working its way up the East Coast right now. So I'm just telling you, if you see a spider that's clearly dressed like it's going to a Steeler game, that is a Joro, and leave it alone. It is not going to hurt you. And in fact, it eats things that are bad bugs. It eats stink bugs. Yay! It eats lantern flies, which are also showing up here from Asia, and they will do terrible damage to our ecosystem. And it eats them as well. So we are going to be on the receiving end of the Joro spider, whose claim to fame is just its friggin' size. Yow! And it likes to build its webs pretty high up in trees. So the odds of you really encountering one, not great. But if you look up, you might see one. Apparently, a lot of folks in the South are seeing them now. And I'm sure that's been covered. And as I was not paying attention for a month, I have no idea. But I just found out about it, and it freaked me out. I'm sorry, I am sighing. Geez, I'm just 3 days out of hiatus, and I'm sighing. Well, I'm going to blame that on no sleep. All right. Hey, I came upon this as well, and it gave me a feeling which I so rarely have, called hope. Hope does not come naturally to me, and it's too bad for me, because I know that people who do feel hopeful on many occasions when others would not are, I'm sure, happier. Even though I don't get it, because they must get disappointed a lot. And I think a lot of people are default pessimists like me because we don't like being disappointed. We like to start out with the assumption that things won't go right. And then we are able to sidestep that deflating result that comes with disappointment. However, I saw this. We have been told by the experts, right, ad nauseum, and just by our own sense, we have a very slim, we being Democrats, we have a very, by the way, speaking of Democrats, boy, I'm digressing upon a digression. Being Democrats, I just want to say that my brother, who I generally find politically sort of not right often. I mean, I just don't think he's nuanced about it like I am. He said to me something the other day that I thought was just so right on. He was ranting about the Democratic Party and its seeming inability to win and its seeming inability to control the lunatics in it that are forever making people vote for Republicans. And I think he absolutely hit the nail on the head. And he said, the Democrats it's not really a party. It is not a party, because a party should be, as it is in the Republican Party, should be people who believe in the same things and generally believe in the same methods to promote these things they believe in. And that just doesn't really define the Democratic Party. I mean, Exhibit A, effin' Joe Manchin of our neighboring state of West Virginia. He has done more than Mitch McConnell to scuttle the Democratic agenda, right? And he's a Democrat. He is part of the party. So my brother said, it's not a party. It is just a bunch of people who can't abide the idea of being a Republican. And that takes in such a huge, we like to, again, talk about the Democrats as this big tent party. But I think my brother's characterization is more apt. It's all the people, except for those who decide to become independents, which is a growing category. For all I know, it's the largest category now. That it's all the people who want to belong to one of the two so-called major parties who simply would not conceive of registering as a Republican. And so the fact that we sort of like gather in and gather up all the rest creates this so-called party that is constantly battling itself, tripping itself up, because it frankly and truly does not agree. No lockstepping from the Democrats, because they really are this effluvia. Is that Rosita right? I don't know why all these words are popping in my head today. Of people who would, commit Harry Carey rather than, is it Hari Kari, than be a Republican. So now where was I before I interrupted myself? Oh, yeah. So I came upon this analysis that was done by a group from the New York Times. Yeah, Barbara, you're right. Okay, wait, we digress. Just one more time. You are right. She says Will Rogers had it right. I'm not a member of any organized political party. I'm a Democrat. God bless him. Okay. What movie was some old movie I was watching the other day? Oh, it was about the Ziegfeld Follies, and it starred William Powell. This is for all you old farts. And Will Rogers played himself in it. He had a little bit part. There he was. God, what a cutie. What a cute character. I'm not a member of any organized political party. I'm a Democrat. Man, nails it. Okay, now I'm really going to try to do this. This thing that gave me a glimmer of hope. This New York Times analysis piece was about the odds of Democrats doing something that none of the experts say they can, which is holding on to the House of Representatives in the upcoming midterm election. I mean, I don't have to go into the backstory there that, with the fact that the Republican Party in lockstep passing all these bills to keep Democrats away from the polls, and making it difficult to vote in just brilliantly evil kinds of ways, because they know they don't have the numbers. They know they're a minority party, blessed with a constitution that gives them powers they would not possess if we were a true one man, one vote democracy. So we've been told, and given inflation and COVID and war and all these horrors, and given the history that midterm elections are always a bad thing for the party that holds the executive branch, we know we're about to lose the House. And I think that still is, because I am a pessimist. That's still probably what will happen. But the analysis says that as you look, even at the gerrymandered congressional districts that now exist. Let me give you some numbers here. Get ready. There are 435 congressional districts. Out of those 435, 2006, Jesus, Colin! Excuse me, didn't mean to scream in your ear. 216 to 219 appear likely to tilt Democrat, or clearly are Democrat. Okay, so that's 216 to 219. Looking at the Republican likely districts, guess how many you get? 216 to 219. Huh? Yeah. The numbers crunchers said both parties are essentially sort of in the same place at the starting gate, even though I know they say this defies the expectations of many analysts, because we've been told that the Republicans could easily flip the 6 seats they need to take back control. And they can do it by the means they've been employing: redistricting, gerrymandering. But looking clear-eyed at it, the New York Times found the number of Republican tilting districts that voted for Trump at a higher rate than the nation as a whole looks like that number is going to decline significantly, from 228 to probably fewer than 218. I don't know why, but apparently there are fewer, just slam dunk Republican districts than before. Anytime things turn to numbers, I don't get it, but I'll give you the in between the numbers information. And the other thing that's happening is Democrats in states that they control, the definite minority of states, they have taken a page from the Republicans' book and are gerrymandering as well. And the Times review said that both parties' gerrymandering tactics have essentially canceled each other out. And also, in Democrats' favor, there are a lot more states now that have gone to bipartisan commissions or courts or nonpartisan entities of some sort to be left to draw the district lines, as opposed to, the rabid, in our case here in Pennsylvania, the rabidly Republican legislature. Now, not all states have got a finalized district map, so this is, waiting on the results from the redistricting as a result of the census and other political ploys. We're waiting for Florida, Missouri, Louisiana, and New Hampshire. Those are all Republican states, aren't they? And there are other states that have legal challenges to their redistricting. And I'll give you just the two more little things they said, which I said gave me, of all people, a modicum of hope. There are more solidly Republican districts than there are solidly Democratic districts, with 186 that voted Republican by at least 10 points more than the nation as a whole, compared with just 167, 20 less, 20 fewer. God, even I'm saying less. 20 fewer for the Democrats. But I'll counter that unhappy fact with the astonishing fact that the Supreme Court actually, as you know, denied Republican efforts to block the redistricting maps in Pennsylvania and in North Carolina. Both of those cases brought to them by freaked out Republicans. And they appealed to that overwhelmingly Republican Supreme Court. Thank God for Chief Justice Roberts. They did not prevail. All right, so I'm just telling you, it's not necessarily a guaranteed loss. But these Republican states, you can't make up what they're doing, the ugliness. Can I share some of it with you? I don't mean to at you. But I got upset, so why the hell shouldn't you join me? One was Mississippi. Oh, Mississippi. Mississippi is at the bottom of every poll of life expectancy, health care, and any poll you take that should leave the leaders of that state with such shame and humiliation. They're always at the bottom, and then they keep doubling down, making themselves more and more outrageously awful, so that why anyone who doesn't have to be in Mississippi would live in Mississippi is beyond my comprehension. So the latest thing that the Mississippi legislature did is they just killed a bill that would have allowed poor women on Medicaid to have access to postpartum care for postpartum complications for a longer period. They killed it. I mean, they just killed it. At the moment, Mississippi, and here again, as I said, allows the lowest amount of this kind of care. Actually, it's just 2 months they allow. And they allow it because the federal government mandated it. So all the Republicans, and listen to the two guys who led the charge. You can't make this up. Listen to their last two names. These are the guys, because this will overwhelmingly affect Black, poor women in Mississippi. The guys who made sure that those women would die at greater numbers than they even have before is a guy named Gunn and a guy named Hood. I mean, those two names are just perfect for these Mississippi death-dealing lawmakers. The reality is death as a result of pregnancy is already twice as high in Mississippi as in the rest of the country. And it's also where more than half, 60% of all deliveries are funded by Medicaid, which is what they targeted. And that's way higher, again, than the national average. Even the Mississippi State Department of Health, I'm astonished they even have such a department. The Mississippi State Department of Health found that Black women in Mississippi were 3 times as likely to die of pregnancy-related causes as their white counterparts. And for many, Medicaid is the only way they're able to get prenatal care, give birth in a hospital, or get care after birth for life-threatening conditions that pregnancy can cause, and can cause much longer than 2 months later. 86% of women who die as a result of childbirth die after birth. 86%. And now, not that the rest of the states should be bragging, or the United States should be bragging, because our country has the highest maternal mortality rate of any so-called developed country. And research has shown that 60% of maternal death in this country was preventable. The gun guy said, yeah, I'm aware of the state's maternal death rate. That wasn't part of the discussion. Jesus, God, help us. And this is the same state that is looking to ban abortions after 15 weeks. This is the state whose case is poised at the Supreme Court to essentially overturn Roe v. Wade. Wow. So, unbelievable. The targeting of women, the targeting of poor women, the targeting of poor Black women by these despicable men. And, sorry guys, this is the reality of our country. Then let's turn to another great progressive state, Idaho. And still speaking of abortion, Idaho this week became the first state to adopt an absolute copycat edition of the Texas abortion law, the one that deputizes Tom, Dick, and Harry to report anyone connected with an abortion, from the person who drives the women to the clinic, to the doctor. Everybody but the woman herself, is my understanding. And, in Texas, if they bring us case, Tom, Dick, or Harry, against people aiding and abetting an abortion, and there's a bounty. They get $10,000 if they take the person down. Idaho, and this is after 6 weeks, when most women don't even know they're pregnant. Idaho copied the bill, but made it even more egregious. Because they decided to put an award of $20,000 plus legal fees for anyone who rescues a preborn child. I can't even. Texas allows no exceptions for women who are victims of rape or incest. Idaho does the same. It says that grandparents, siblings, aunts, uncles of the preborn child, as well as the father, can report this crime, and the neighbor as well, and someone who doesn't even know the person. Jesus. Idaho, though, I mean, how progressive of them. I can't even imagine how this got pulled out of the bill. It does not allow a man, the father of the preborn, to sue after an abortion's been committed if he raped the woman. So they actually said rapists cannot collect the $20,000. I mean, amazing. I don't know how did that even pass. However, this makes more sense. The siblings of the rapist, the mother of the rapist, the father of the rapist, nieces and nephews of the rapist can sue the abortion provider. My God. Meanwhile, it should be noted that the states that border Texas have seen an 800% increase in demand for abortions because of women from Texas desperately fleeing there for health care. And one of those states, Oklahoma, is considering its own 6-week abortion ban. So just bringing you up to date on all of that in this great nation of ours. Wow. Can't make it up. Hey, I heard something interesting. That in Idaho, is it Idaho or is it Montana? Where's Cheney from? One of those big square, brilliantly red states. I'm just blanking. I think it's Idaho too, isn't it? Hang on, I'm just trying to get to it. Wyoming. They all blend together for me. I'm sorry. Wyoming. As you know, Liz Cheney, who has more balls, obviously, than the entire rest of the membership of the Republican Party in Washington, is facing a primary challenge. And it's assumed that she will lose that primary. I mean, tons of money is being thrown in there to her opponent or opponents to knock her off. But one thing that turns out is happening there that is a really good idea, I don't know if it can make enough of a difference, is that Democrats who live in her district, I'm saying, I mean, how the hell many Democrats could there be? We're talking about Wyoming here. But Democrats living in her district are changing their party affiliation so that they can vote in the Republican primary and vote for Liz Cheney. And that is something that, I know people do. I'm too lazy to do stuff like that because then you have to change back. But that is something Democrats can do, and it is something that is gaining steam. But as I said, I just don't know if there's enough Democrats willing to do that who could then make a difference in the outcome of that race. But I was happy to see it nonetheless. Sorry, chuckling to myself over something. And hang on, I'll get it together. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. This is something I've been wanting to share with you. And just looking at it, I just looked at it again because it has a headline on it. Just looking at it caused me to yawn. I mean, to stifle a yawn. I always felt this huge need to yawn, and I stifled it because if I'm yawning, I can't talk. And this was an article that I saw some time ago called The Surprising Science of Yawning. I once, when I was at WTAE television, because this has always been a subject of interest to me, and I've always been wondering the answer to the question, why is yawning contagious? Because I am exceptionally prone to, if I see anybody yawn, I then yawn. Even reading this article, I must have yawned 20 times. Some of you are yawning right now, right? I'm stifling it because I really feel like I want to. Just the word, just saying the word makes me feel like I have to, let alone seeing. If my dog yawns, I tend to yawn. So it's contagious across species. And I so wanted to get to the bottom of it that I once did a piece on yawning, and I remember interviewing some scientist at UPMC who works with around issues of sleep and stuff about why yawning is contagious. And guess what the answer was? I don't know. They don't know. They do not know. It is something that has been noted over and over and over again. And having read this article, it's clear they still don't know. Yawning is involuntarily. You don't decide when to yawn. You just do it. It's some biological program that is, it's unconscious, it's spontaneous. It does not necessarily mean you're tired or bored, although, it's often taken that way, unfortunately. I know a lot of people who I think yawn when they're nervous. And that would be the opposite of being tired. I know my dog yawns when he's nervous. I can see that. People have been wondering this forever. 1400 BC, Hippocrates, the Hippocratic Oath. Does the word hypocrisy come from Hippocrates too? The Hippocratic Oath. He wondered about this, and he decided it was caused by somehow relating to humans trying to get their body temperature right. Sort of like emitting quantities of steam escaping from a boiling cauldron. I don't know. And that, as recently as 2011, some psychologists said that he sort of agreed that it was some kind of cooling mechanism for our brains and bodies. But no one can prove it. And yawning is one of those ongoing mysteries of human behavior. And having read this, I don't know. Somewhere in this article, it said that it doesn't cross species, but I am here to say that's not true. Some psychologists believe that contagious yawning is a way of showing empathy. Again, they say that only humans and chimpanzees have that effect on each other. But I'm telling you, it's not true because my dog's yawn sets me off. Fetuses yawn. It would be pretty boring floating around in that enclosed space. Has there ever been a claustrophobic fetus? God help them. So I don't know. They don't know, but I've been. Here's a few more little factoids about it. Recent evidence suggests that the effect of contagion of yawning extends to race. That you're more likely to yawn when it's a member of your own race. Oh God, come on! I think that's racist. I'm not a clue. Although it could be, here's another thing that some are positing, it could be not anything about empathy or anything like that. It's having to do with being sociable. That it's a measure of signaling to another that we see them. But that sounds like empathy again. But again, they say it's less like I'm bored, thus I yawn, but rather I yawn as a signal that we should all like hang out together, that it's a social thing. It is a form of communication of some sort, but we still don't have a friggin' clue. Here's the last line of this piece that I read. It's often said that behavior doesn't leave fossils, which is, for behavioral psychologists, that's a bummer. Because fossils can be looked at and give clues. Yawning doesn't leave fossils. Behavior doesn't leave fossils. But with yawning, you are looking at what could be called a behavioral fossil. You're getting insight into how all of behavior once was, which is what? Contagious, which is flexing. I don't know. But the fact that, I want to yawn, I got to tell you, as soon as I say goodbye to you, I am doing, so how many of you yawned? I'm serious. This is such a problem for me. Simply thinking of it, seeing the word, seeing any other being yawn, I'm toast. All right. Is it? And just let me get back here and make sure that I leaving any of you guys out. I don't think so. I think that pretty much does it for me. Okay. Oh, dang it. I can't even find my... Okay, it doesn't matter. I think I'm done. So I thank you all for joining me. And man, I don't know about you, but I'm getting out in this day. Wow. Wow. Double yow. Wow. Okay. I'm blaming it on my lack of sleep. Have a beautiful day. Okay.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.